and I'll get now Gordon to get us started and get off with the show. Thank you, Gordon. Thank you.
The show. Like it.
The show is on. You're backlit as well, lovely.
Thank you. Okay, welcome everybody, and can I say it's my pleasure to come to the Redditch Spiritualist Church via Zoom and share a little bit of my knowledge and teachings with all of you guys. Some of you I've known and met before, others I haven't. So can I just say I hope you enjoy this afternoon, because for me, I think this is a lovely, lovely thing, lovely gift we've been given to be able to connect like this. And especially when you get these times where a lot of people just feel so isolated that they don't have anybody. Last week I brought a friend of mine, an ex-cousin, a cousin twice removed, on a Skype for the first time. And he was almost in tears because he'd never realised you could actually do this kind of interaction. And because he lives on his own and he's in lockdown, it was just a joy. So for me, I feel that once we get started in these Zoom platforms and things, there's the fact that you're doing it remotely. And hopefully all the minds come together. So for people like us who are mediums, healers, trance mediums, just spiritualists in general, we're already used to working with our mind in a remote way. So there's a point where mind becomes connected during this. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a little bit. But I really feel that this is a time when everything you've learned, everything you've been a part of, is relevant now, because it's to the minds of people like us that the spirit actually speak, the spirit touch our minds. We've had that feeling, so we're never actually alone. If you've had that connection with the spirit world, you'll never be alone. You can't be, because your mind and their mind are one. And that's the thing that we should take through this particular time. It's horrendously sad for so many people. For me, what's worse is the pandemic of fear that's spreading around the world. I think that's bigger than any of the illness, because the illness by its nature is no bigger than a flu. But the actual pandemic of fear is horrendous. And I believe that all the meditation that I've done in my life, and everybody here, all the practices that I've done with my mind, when I asked many, many years ago to my teacher, Mrs. Primrose, I said, you know, why do we meditate? And she says, for whatever. I said, what do you mean whatever? She says, for whatever comes. And now I understand that, because you do. You practice to get your mind into that clear space so that fear can't touch it. Fear can't touch you when you can take yourself out of your body slightly and into the atmosphere around you, into your aura. And you'll see around me these colours and this depiction of the aura just behind me. And the reason I put that up was because this is where we go to when we do contact the spirit world. Some of you might have known my lovely friend Mary Armour, who recently went back home to the spirit world. And if you met Mary, we used to call her Scary Mary, and quite aptly so. She was a very formidable woman. But Mary spoke to me the night before she died, and she had just come back from America, being with her daughter. And she said, you know, they've taken me to bloody hospital, son. I said, have they? She says, no, I've not got that damn virus. And she says, I'll tell you, I'm not telling anybody else, I've got cancer. I said, have you, Mary? She says, oh, I'm ready to go home, son. She says, I couldn't care less. She says, other than them bringing me down with a gun, something's got to kill me. And I just laughed, because I thought this was Mary's sense of humour. But also it was Mary's understanding of life and death. That death isn't the enemy of life. Death is a part of it. And Mary was ready for it. And she said, you know what, darling, don't tell my kids, they're not ready to hear this yet. But when the time comes, will you take my service? I said, sure, of course I will, Mary. And she said, do you know where I am right now? I said, no. Where? She says, I'm out in my aura. She says, I can't feel my body. She says, but I'm still talking to you. I says, oh, that's cool, Mary. What does it feel like? She says, brilliant, son. She says, and I can't wait for the moment when I can let go and be with Joe. So she knew she was going to be with her husband. And this, I had no idea she would die the next day. So the next day I got a call saying, I didn't get a call. I sat with my son having dinner. My son already thinks I'm quite a creepy guy. And we're having dinner. And I said, oh God, Mary's died. And he looked at me and went, Dad, why did you just say that? I said, she's just gone. She just said goodbye. And then the next minute, a text came from her daughter, Mum's just gone. And I text back, I know, she came and said goodbye. And that was so comforting to her daughter, who thought, oh my God. And she said, you know, Gordon, we were hoping. I said, don't worry, your mum asked me last night on the phone, would I take the funeral? And these kind of things. So to see a spiritualist at that point of transition with no fear whatsoever, when I said to her about all this, the illness thing, she said, son, it's just another faculty of life. This is another facet of the life you must go through. I've done mine. And she took the fear out of the whole thing. She took the sting away from death, which is what mediums do for people every day in life when they do readings for them or give any kind of anecdotal story of different accounts of their own work. People like that have done so much good for this world, for the fear that's in the world. And this is where you should point your mediumship to, guys. It's mediumship doesn't happen in your head. Mediumship happens all around you in the atmosphere. So it's when people personalize it and bring it into their head, it becomes about them. My message was this. Did you see the message I gave last night? My second message, my third message. You don't have a message. You're a medium. You deliver messages. You're like a postman. And you just get them to the right person. They're not yours. You don't create messages, guys. You deliver. And I hope that makes sense. And the reason you deliver is because you make this aura around you a clear place for the spirit to come to. A holding place between two worlds, where Mary Armour sat the night before she died and was happy to sit there. And that's what she told me. This is a holding place, this aura. And I said, oh, I know, Mary, because I know through my work that when I'm working well, I'm not in my body fully. I'm here. And some of you, I hope, will understand what I'm saying, that when you meditate, you will feel that lovely sense of buzz or pulse. Does anybody ever get that? Just nod if you do. You feel that. Some people feel it like a palpitation or a sense of rocking gently. Now that's when you're going from the physical into the non-physical. And that's the part of you that is starting to spiritualize. And one of the things I tell people, that when you go into the aura like that, what you're starting to do there is to clear your mind. And a lot of people try these exercises and they want to come out the other side with messages. Well, you shouldn't. That means you've made a message up. Don't make messages up. Go into these exercises and see if you can just clear your mind. Can you sit in a clear mind? Can you prepare your mind so that when you do use it for spirit, it's so clear that the messages come through you, not from you. And that happens because your aura expands out into the atmosphere. The messages come from the atmosphere through you and out. So the whole practice of our meditation and mediumship is that we become clear, not full. Messages that garble in the mind are usually from the brain. They're usually from somebody's need to say something or fill in space because they're not sure what to say. Whereas the real messages just bypass us. They come and go. But they can only do that, guys, if you take yourself into that lovely spiritual space around you called the aura, or as I call it, the light body. And it's in that light body, that's where you lose your fear. Do you know why? Because that's where you start to first find out that you're a spirit. You don't become one when you die. There's not some exclusive club for the dead. Oh, I've got my spirit now that I died. Your spirit is you. But the wonderful thing, to feel your spirit, your living spirit, whilst you're in this body, whilst you're in this life, when you feel that, it's the most incredible empowerment. It takes away any fear of dying. And my greatest teaching that I've ever given to people is that those of us who can lose our fear of dying, lose our fear of living. And that's where we want people to be. And especially nowadays when you see all this fear stuff being thrown all over the news, it's ridiculous how sensational people are. I really hope we wake up from this and don't allow people into our homes who are going to scare us. Because a lot of what they're scaring you with, guys, isn't even real. And that's the sad thing about it. The reality for those poor people who are losing folk, that's terrible. And we send out our love and thoughts and healing to that. But I just dislike when I see somebody, one of my old neighbours, saying, I'm just so frightened, I just wish it would all end. And I said, the corona thing? No, my life. And I said, don't be silly. No, you don't. No. You've got everything to live for. You know, you've got to look at the things you do have. one of the little teachings that comes to my mind every time is I think about this, what people have at the moment. And somebody was comparing this to one of the wars, and I said, really, nobody's been shot at. Nobody's sitting in trenches for months in freezing cold things. As hard as it is for a lot of the people, this is not like a war. It's nothing like it. And anybody who'd been through that, one person made a comment to me that I feel as though, I feel like Anne Frank have been stuck in so long. And I said, yeah, that's quite funny. I said, but imagine being in a little room, like almost a cupboard for 2 years. That really isn't funny. So what we're going through today is a tiny little thing compared to the massive things people are comparing it with. But it's these big things that scare our mind. So this is why I'm saying you use your practices, your meditations, your healing practices to go inside or to go within your energy and then sit in that light body and let it reboot you, let it revamp you. You see, the greatest thing is to do this without looking for anything much to occur. When you do it like this, things occur. Not because you want them to, because they can. And this is because we take our need for things to happen, our want. Oh, I want to get a message. I want to see my guide. The amount of times I've had students turn up and say, well, I get ectoplasm on the first meditation. I think, oh, no, not unless you buy me a drink. The thing about it is that people have these notions in their head that something's got to happen during it. And something does if you do nothing. Something beautiful happens. You get in touch with yourself at a deeper level. And that's the level of you that says, hey, I'm okay in here. Actually, in this part of my life, there's no frightening thing. In this part of my life, it's actually okay to be here. Most people who meditate properly don't want to come back from it because it's better than what they have here. So when you're doing it right, you think, wow, look where I can go. And if you do it even for 5-10 minutes in a day, you've set your day up with the most beautiful set of energy that will carry you through that day. And it just makes you feel, wow, I'm alive. But what you're doing is you're alive on a different level now. You're not alive in the level that's listening to the news that's saying this is going to be difficult. You're not alive on the level that says, how can I change this when I'm stuck here? These are all limiting thoughts. Where I'm taking you in a moment is away from limited thoughts to a part of your mind that is functioning right now in a really happy, balanced, contented place. And the only person that's missing from it is you. And you've got to remind yourself, hey, I'm also this. I'm not just this. And it's one of my favourite quotes, but I always remind people because we feel small when we're hemmed in like this. We feel small when we feel vulnerable and we can't control life. Somebody out there's telling us about life. But when we go into meditation and when we start to open the mind a little bit more, then we start to realise there's more to us than a physical body with 5 senses. There's a whole lot more. And I always think of Marianne Williamson when she said that our deepest fear is not that we are insignificant. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. And when you think about that, that's what you feel when you feel your spirit self. So all of this thing that people have about, can you contact spirits? Well, you are a spirit. I'm talking to a lot of spirits right now whom I can see in front of me. I can feel them as well, and I'm sure you guys will start to feel the energy build that we take into this practice with us in a moment. And when you feel that, just be in it. Don't expect things to happen. Just feel them. One of the things that's missing from a lot of our development groups just now is giving people the right not to say things at the end of a meditation. Too many people are making you talk and say, come back and get things and get this and get that. No, just go in it and feel the connection of spirit. And that's where I'm going to take you. Behind me is this little graph. You don't need to see it all or read it. In that, I've actually done a little table for practice sake. It's not, don't take everything as law, it's practice sake within a meditation. And what that is showing you 7 levels of consciousness, because one of my practices as a medium was trance. So to take people into levels of altered states, which is meditation, sleep is an altered state. So when some people say, will anything bad happen to me if I meditate? And I say, well, the worst thing that can happen is you might fall asleep. That's the worst thing. And it's even worse if you drool. So that's the worst thing that can happen in a meditation. But the best thing that can happen in a meditation is you get slightly into that in-between place, the thin place I call it, where two worlds meet, where you just sit on the cusp of here and the next life. And it's that lovely world that in the morning when you've been in a beautiful place and you bring a little bit of it back with you and it stays with you for the whole day. And you think, wow, that wasn't just a dream. That had a quality that was bigger than any other dream I've ever had. You know, when you get that lovely dream, that's where our meditation should take us to. Going into that thin place, being able to touch the two worlds at the same time, being aware of both, but actually asking nothing of either, just being content. So that's where I'm going to take you through the first 3 levels of consciousness so that you can sit in your power. And when we sit there, we're just going to send out a little thought to the spirit around us, not to ask for anything, just to feel the presence. You don't need to get messages. Please don't ask for messages. Just ask for their closeness. Do you know that is the best message you'll get today? It's just the feeling of reality of spirit. More than a sentence of, oh, I'm here with your mother and I've got this and da, 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 da. That presence of the spirit and your energy is them saying, we're here, it's okay. And most of us do know it's okay anyway. But also remember, you opening up like this is a joy to them. Imagine what it's like, because as much as you say, oh, I'm waiting to hear from my dad, how lovely for your dad to hear from you. For you to say, I'm coming into that lovely space, come and say hello. So you're facilitating an absolutely beautiful space for the spirit world today. And don't muck it up by becoming needy and pulling things. I want this, I want to know that, don't want to know anything. Because the answers are given when we need them, not when we want them. So if the answer's there for you, we'll open up that door to see if the spirit will provide it for you. So is everybody ready to come with me on a little journey to the thin place between two worlds? Okay, guys. All I ask is that you sit comfortably. Okay. And I want you to just start by breathing slowly and deliberately at first. So nice, slow, deep breaths into your body. And just releasing the air from your mouth. So that you start to feel that rhythm of the breath moving in to your body and filling your lungs with air. And slowly releasing, letting go of any stress or tension. And just breathe like this for a moment until we let go of any anxieties that have been hanging around us. You start to feel your shoulders relaxing and your hands becoming heavy on your lap. This tells you that your body is starting to relax. Just let it go. And very soon you will feel that your breathing changes and it finds its own natural rhythm. Much slower and more steady. Just go with that. Thoughts will come into your mind. We don't try to stop thoughts. We just allow them to pass through. Don't follow them. Don't try and understand them. Just let them come and go. There may be outside distractions, but every time your mind is thinking about an outside distraction, just take a breath. Bring the focus of your awareness back to the moment that you're in. Just be still. Now we relax our mind. And we do this by telling ourselves that there is nothing to accomplish at this moment. absolutely nothing to achieve other than a quiet mind. Just be in that quiet mind, away from all distractions, not worried about thoughts or not connecting, in this lovely relaxed state of stillness and calm. When we relax the body and the mind, then our own spirit energy starts to become more apparent. If you can, just be aware of the atmosphere that you're sitting in, the energy that is emitting from your body out into the atmosphere. Your own auric field. And it's in this altered state of self that all is well, that there is no chaos, just peace, just stillness. And it's here that we can reach out our own spirit out into that atmosphere. Whilst the body is relaxed and the mind is uncumbered, we just let the spirit be. And I want you to think of someone in your family, in the spirit world, or a loved one, a friend. And just for one moment, assume that they can be in this energy with you. That their mind and your mind can touch. And just allow them to be close to your energy. In this wonderful state of mind where all is well. Do nothing, just try to feel the energy change around you as we ask the spirit we love to step close to us. And with this lovely feeling of connection and spiritual energy, from the very heart of us, we send out a loving thought to anyone we know right now who needs that little bit of healing and upliftment. And remember, it's the energy that moves to that person, not just the thought. So we direct this loving feeling of energy to those who need it more than we do. Okay, I want you to just say a thank you to the spirit world for being there for us. And just whenever you're ready, take a deep breath once again. And you'll recognize that the very action of breathing deeply starts to reconnect mind and body with spirit. And it starts to bring us back to this sense of reality where we feel more grounded and aware. Just slowly breathing, becoming more focused on the here and now. Whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes. Now, that didn't feel like 15 minutes, did it? And that's because you were doing it right. Because when you go into that nice altered state, time just doesn't have a place. Time's not relevant. We don't worry about time when we're in that spiritual space, guys. And that's the beauty of what we do. We can take our mind away from time. And when we're away from that fear of losing time and time stopping us and containing us, that's when we get this sense of freedom again, the spiritual freedom that we all actually do have. We just forget it. And isn't it lovely just to say for a moment to spirit, come close. You don't need a medium to be your medium. You are your medium when you can take your mind into that in-between place. I've often thought that not enough people understand the whole idea of their spirit being able to do so many things, to heal other people, to heal themselves, to be in touch with our ancestors, with our loved ones, to have the sense of a spiritual reality. And I really hope that everybody that I contact and work with takes the teachings that I'm given from the spirit world to other people, and also to learn their own and share them with other people. Because none of this is any good if it's for the self. It's only good when it's for others. When people say, do you have a gift? And I'll say, only when I share it. Other than that, it's just an ability. Because it is only a gift when mediums can actually share it properly and with the true intention and compassion. And one of the things I'd love to say, because I know I started today talking about one of my dear friends, Mary Armour, who's gone home to the spirit world. And I'd love to actually leave you with something that she gave us all so much in her time. And Angie's smiling. But yeah. Mary Armour was, for me as a young guy when I started, she was one of these inspirational teachers who was very, very different. She had elocution lessons and things, and her hair was always done. She turned up like a real lady, and she was proud to stand on the platform for spirit. And one time she stood and she gave this wonderful spiritual quote, and I think I must have been in my 20s, and my whole body shivered because it was like a wake up. You ever read one of these things or you hear it said and you think, oh my God, there's power in that. And I've never forgotten it. And I was lucky enough to read it at Mary's funeral last week, or a couple of weeks ago. And I know she would have loved it because it's an empowering thing. So for me, I want to leave it with you guys today. Because after I finish, I'm going to have to go and walk the dogs. Can you imagine you did that in a church? Guys, I'm finished the day and I'm going to walk the dogs. That's the beauty of Zoom. So let me leave this with you because it's a beautiful, beautiful reference to how a mind can change because of a spiritual happening. And I hope this has happened for all of you at some point. It has for me. And I hope if it hasn't yet happened, there's still time for it to happen to you in this life. There always is. So think about this. It's a quote from a poet called Gerard Massey, who was a spiritualist back in the 19th century. And he wrote, "Spiritualism has been to me, in common with others, such a lifting of the mental horizon and a letting in of the heavens, a formation of faith into fact, that I can only compare my life before it to that of travelling on board a ship, beneath decks with all hatches fastly battened down, living like a prisoner by the light of a candle, until one splendid starry night, being allowed for the first time on the top deck to witness the stupendous mechanism of the heavens, all aglow with the glory of God." Can you imagine that moment? Well, that moment is there for everybody, guys, and I just hope the rest of your service is beautiful. And I want to thank you all for letting me share a little bit of your day and passing my love to you guys. And God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gordon. Thank you.
You're welcome, my darling. You don't mind if I walk Cookie?
No, you let Cookie go. I know what it's like with the spaniel. That's fine.
Thank you all and have a lovely day.
Thank you, Gordon.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you, sweetheart. Speak to you later.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye, Dan.